Alo, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, alo, testing, testing.
Good morning, Achaan, John, and Sarah. So, everyone, are you ready to start? Yes, okay. I believe Lee has a question.
Good morning, Achaan, John, Sarah, and everyone. So today I want to ask about the thinking, the reality of thinking, and what's the characteristic of thinking. Because thinking is also one of the also we often live in the life of thinking a lot of things in daily life. So can you have to elaborate more about thinking? Yeah, thank you.
Is there thinking now?
Yes.
Thinking about thinking now?
Yes.
So all day long, there is thinking after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching through the sense door processes. Thinking all the time, usually thinking about nonsense, thinking about the food, the flowers, the people, the things around us. So usually thinking endlessly with attachment and ignorance and aversion. So we've discussed a lot about how at each moment chitta arises and falls away. So if it's not seeing, it's not hearing, it's not smelling, it's not tasting, it's not touching, and if it's not the other chittas in the sense door processes experiencing the object, thinking is there. So at this moment, what thinks?
Should be chitta.
Chitta,
Yes.
So it's chitta that thinks at almost every moment. And yesterday in our car journey, or maybe it was a discussion before, the day before, someone mentioned about having less thinking. I think it was the last discussion in Ho Chi Minh. So this is common idea that there should be less thinking. But even the Buddha, for the Buddhas, there's the chittas thinking about Li or Zhao or Geng, different names, different people, thinking with kusala chittas or akusala chitta. For the Buddha, kiriya chittas, but now for us, usually with akusala chittas. But at the moments of wise consideration about Dharma, thinking with kusala chittas about Dharmas. So it's not ever a matter of not thinking or trying to have less thinking or slowing down the thinking or stilling the mind. These are all the wrong ideas. Just understand, just chitta that thinks at almost every moment, like now. If there's no thinking, how can there be listening and considering about the Dharma?
When we talk about thinking, we are usually referring to citta that has a concept as object. there is no reality being experienced at that moment. If citta has a reality as object, then it's either a different kind of citta or it's performing a different function. So thinking is just the term for mind or activity that has concept as object. It's not a specific classification of realities in the Dhamma, as far as I know. It's just citta experiencing concept. So it's a kind of experiencing just like that. So the characteristic of thinking then is just the characteristic of experiencing a concept as object.
What the difference between the thinking of the nimitta of seeing and thinking about the story in daily life? Because I think that is quite different, because when we thinking about the Dhamma, about the seeing or visible object, at that moment it's quite different from the moment of thinking about something in daily life, because when thinking about something in daily life, it's have the condition about the story, long story. So can you elaborate more about the different both of moments?
We've talked a lot about how the moment of seeing is followed by many, the moment of seeing, of experiencing visible object through the sense door is followed by many moments of mind door activity, which process the visible objects that have been experienced. And so this is sometimes referred to as attending to the shape and form of the visible object. And that mental processing is necessary to have the concept of people and things. If you're referring to that aspect of mind or activity, we don't actually call it thinking in, it's different from, it's not the same as the thinking in daily life when we think about yesterday, tomorrow, and so forth, but it's no different in its characteristic, because again, it's just mind or citta attending to the object, and it normally doesn't appear. We're not conscious of the way in which the mind conceptualizes the sense door objects and gives the impression of people and things sitting in a room. But it's there. It happens so quickly, and it's happening all the time. But as far as I understand it, there's no real difference between that kind of experiencing of a concept that we're not really aware of and the thinking that you are talking about. If we're planning for tomorrow or something, then it's not related to what is presently being experienced through the sense doors. But nevertheless, it has the same characteristic because it has it's just mind or citta with concept as object.
If so, the object of thinking can condition that we can learn about Dhamma or not, right? Because if thinking about the Dhamma, about the concept of Dhamma, like now, is also the a condition for our development of on the way of learning Dhamma, right?
That depends on a number of factors. Obviously, someone can be hearing this discussion and it may not be a condition for that person to think about the Dhamma because they don't have particular interest in it. Or they may have an academic interest in understanding. So it comes down to the accumulated tendencies of the individual. And it is a necessary part of the development of understanding that there be that hearing and that thinking. But the extent to which there is thinking about what is heard and the extent to which there is useful thinking about what has been heard depends very much on the individual.
Yeah, thank you.
It depends on how closely they're paying attention to what is being said and their present accumulated understanding also.
Is there a word in this room?
There were, you mean the word? Yes.
Yes.
The word of thinking of something.
No. From one question to another question with careful considering in order to understand what is talked about. Now, is there any word in this room? See, we think that we understand the truth, but in truth, it's so very subtle. No matter how much we talk about it, it needs more and more careful considering to get closer and closer to understand the word that we have heard quite a long time and so many times, just right then. But what about, is there word in this room? Sound or word? And we talk about thinking a lot. There is thinking, but is there word?
That at the current level, we just can immediately see that.
I didn't talk about that. I just talk about, is there word in this room? Everyone understands what is meant by word, but is there word in this room? This is a way to develop the understanding, to understand the truth, which is so very subtle, even thinking. See, is there thinking now or a word now?
Thinking.
Is there word?
No.
Word, not world, word, W-O-R-D. Is a word a reality?
Yes, yes.
Word is a reality.
Not its concept.
So thinking is real. So there's thinking now, as you said, but the word that is thought about, for example, the word of sound or the word of shirt, any word, is there word in reality?
No.
Why not?
Because it's just in the thinking.
It's the object of thinking. Yes. And does the object of thinking condition the thinking? For example, the word sound, many people hear it who've never heard the Buddha's teachings. Does it condition any wise considering?
It's yes, it's depend on accumulation. Each
Depends
person.
on accumulations. It depends on the accumulation of the wise considering. Because before the Buddha's time, people heard about seeing and visible object and sound. Everyone knows there are sounds in the room. But if there's no wise considering, however many times one talks about sounds, it doesn't condition more understanding. So its main condition is the wise considering, which conditions the thinking wisely about the word or the meaning or the what has just been heard. So this is why there are the questions to encourage careful consideration. Otherwise, one thinks one just hears about the words or the meanings and there will be understanding. It's not like that. So it's the understanding and considering that conditions the further understanding about the truth. That's why it's said that the Dharma is not in the book. One can look at the book, but this is not the Dharma. The Dharma is here and now, only understood by the understanding at this moment of what appears. So where is the word?
Same question again. Is there word now?
Yes, because you're talking about the word, so there's a word in the thinking.
So is word real?
No,
So is there word now?
in
The first answer and the second answer, how much understanding? It's not just the word, but it's the truth, which is there now, anytime, all the time in life. But no understanding enough of realities as no one at all, until we learn about this moment to really understand that Dhamma is there from birth to death, on and on, endlessly. As long as the conditions for whatever arises, it arises. So there's the word now, or there's word now.
honestly, because I heard the word from you, so 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 the
heard.
thinking about the word.
I heard.
If
Now,
what is heard now is the sound,
sound. Is sound word the same?
different.
No.
Yeah.
So what is heard is sound, and what hears the sound?
What heard the sound? The hearing consciousness.
Hearing, the
Yeah.
chitta, the
Yeah.
hearing. So no eye to hear and no word to be heard, because it's only sound that is heard by hearing and thinking about the sound with memory, thinking again and again. And you said the word is in the thinking. The word is not in the thinking. The thinking, the chitta arises, countless chittas arise and think about sounds, words, meanings, shapes, forms. So it's object of thinking, the idea, the impression that is thought about. It's not in the thinking. Thinking is real, but what is thought about, the word, the meaning, is not the sound. It's the idea about what has been heard. So can you hear the word now?
No. Because hearing the someone talk about words, so immediately think about what those have been heard, and thinking about the word, the concept about the word.
Is word concept or reality?
It's concept.
Concept. So it's not concept about the word. It is the concept that is thought about, the concept of word. If there was no, because you asked earlier about nimitta of reality and story, if there was no thinking or no experiencing about the nimitta of sound countless times, could there be any thinking about the meaning of the sound, about the reality, about the word, and so on?
Yes.
So the thinking about the nimitta of reality, experiencing the nimitta of reality is one thing, the nimitta of sound, and thinking about the word, the sounds, the meaning is another.
Right now, we see the flower there. So exactly when we can say that we see the flower, but exactly at that time is the thinking, right? Thinking about flower. So almost every time we live in the world of thinking.
Live in the world of concepts that are thought about, yes. Endless thinking about different ideas and concepts and impressions. And I think
Just a short note. You said the reality is thinking about the flowers. Well, actually, it's thinking about the visible object.
No, it's thinking about the nimitta, right? Nimitta of visible object.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not thinking about the flowers, but thinking about the visible object or the nimitta of the visible object, creating the concept of flowers.
Yes, yes.
And then, yes, you can think about the concept also.
But the moment when thinking about the nimitta of visible object is quite different with thinking about something not happening now, right?
Different in what respect?
I want to clarify the different about the concept. What kind of how many kind of concepts? I remember that there's something concept about
before you go on with all these different concepts, Ajahn is asking you questions one at a time to listen, consider carefully, answer step by step. Okay, so let's go back to the basics. Otherwise, we're lost in the world of different concepts, thinking about different concepts instead of.
Thank you for your
Yes.
reminder. Yeah.
Is this life?
Yes.
I think a lot. See, in order to understand the truth of life, which has been understood at all before, as there's no one and no thing, what is there now is real as it is, but it does not appear as it is yet, because no understanding of the truth of it. That's why we learn about what is there now to begin to understand life each moment. So again, is there word?
No, Ajahn.
What is there now?
Thinking and seeing.
Only, okay, seeing. Seeing is gone. What is there after seeing?
Thinking
Thinking about what?
about
Or
nimitta
thinking of what?
of what has been seen.
Thinking of, after seeing, thinking of what?
Thinking about the object visible object.
Okay. Now, so after seeing, there is thinking of that which is seen. Is it there right now?
Yes,
It's not known. But any moment without seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, it is thinking. But we usually think in word, but there is thinking before the thinking of word, isn't it? After seeing, there must be thinking of that which is seen. Otherwise, it cannot be known what is seen at all, or what is that we think about as a rose. If there's no seeing at all, there cannot be the idea of rose. But before the idea of rose, thinking, just think instantly after seeing of that which is seen, to remember from the accumulation, thought about it after seeing as something all the time, as a rose or as people around here, right? Before word, right? So at this moment, after seeing, there's thinking, no word who's who, but there's thinking of that which is seen. That's right in life, no matter what are there, from moment to moment, what can be experienced must be through one of the six doorways. But it's so very quickly arising and falling away. That's why the thinking of that which is seen, does it appear? That's why it's quite subtle to develop the understanding of the truth. There must be thinking of that which is seen without any word. And in order to understand thinking as not anyone, we have to understand thinking deeper and deeper. Even at moment of not thinking about word or story, thinking arises as the process of seeing. And there must be the pavanka, the moment which is not moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking, yet in between. See, this is the way Dhamma can be learned, to develop the understanding of actually what is there in life in a moment, known or unknown. Like thinking about story, it's known, or concept, the rose or the table and so on, but it's not seeing, see. In order to understand the reality which arises to experience an object, no matter what object, this has to be firmly confident of the truth. The reality which is there from birth arises and experience an object from then on, moment to moment, not the same one, different ones, by condition. So life is not permanent at all. And when we use the word life, that must be the understanding what life is. Is seeing life not permanent? Hearing not permanent? Each moment is not permanent. And that has to be firmly confident of the truth of what arises and falls away. Can it be anyone or anything? Because whatever arises falls away instantly, never to arise again in samsara. And this is the intellectual understanding of the first truth, of the Four Noble Truths. Right? To let go clinging to that as something all the time. As soon as it's seen, it's the idea of something, rose, a table, or people, or chairs, and so on. Instantly, because of ignorance, that it's not there anymore. As soon as it has risen, it falls away instantly, never to rise. So we're usually thinking about that which is not there and take it for permanent, no matter it it's a rose or a pen or whatever, so permanent. It's there in my room or in my pocket or somewhere. In truth, it's just sanya, the memory of that which is seen as something. See, just one process, one moment of seeing. Many, many moments make up the idea of something to be remembered, as it's so permanent, it's still there. Where's your clothes? None at all, or it's there in the room. See, and this is life of ignorance and attachment. That's why the enlightenment of the Buddha realized the truth, the ultimate truth. Nobody can change now. So now, no one, only that which arises and falls away each moment. Is that true? The first noble truth has to be so very, very firm established. Otherwise, I all the time in a day, I am asking, I'm talking, I'm drinking, I'm seeing, see. In truth, how long will it take to let go the idea of something out of that which just appears and disappears instantly all the time? And this is the noble truth that can be realized, but not at the beginning of just hearing about it. Because from life to life, years and years ago, each moment followed seeing ignorance. Now, right? So how much ignorance and attachment? So there is only wishes. How can I and how can I experience? Impossible. Because ignorance is there now, no understanding of seeing. Ignorant is now, no understanding what appears. That's why learn to understand that it's just moments of begin to understand the truth of life. Little by little, no one, so no wish to have such and such understanding. And even wishing, expecting is real. So we learn to understand the truth of what is there. That's why there are two kinds of the realities. One can experience the object, the other one cannot experience the object. Where are they? Here, so close. Do we have to look for it? Do we have to go somewhere to understand anything? It has to be right now. Ignorance covers up the truth of what is there right here, anywhere, anytime. So in order to have right understanding, it needs the words of truth to be considered very carefully again and again and again, to develop the firm understanding, even intellectually. There's no one. Imagine. Even thinking is so hard to think in truth that actually there's no one. At moment of seeing, only that which is seen, no matter what we take for table or rose or bottle, it can be seen, and there is only one reality among all realities or dhamma that can be seen, no matter when and when, right now. Only one reality. And when we use the word one reality, it cannot be anyone. Only a reality which can be seen. And we use the word visible object. So visible object is visible object. The word that Buddha taught from his enlightenment, out of his understanding, cannot be changed because it's the truth. Even the Buddha himself respect the truth. So we now, what's wrong and what's right? What would be object of respect? The truth or the lie? That's why begin to understand that whatever is taught by the Buddha, each word shouldn't be forgotten. In a day, is there any moment of Dhamma, hardness, seeing, thinking, liking, all are Dhammas. That's why when it's not very well established, firm and firmer, there can never be the idea, even the idea, the thinking about the truth. It's just a reality, hardness there. So the moment of enlightenment, the truth cannot be changed. What appears now cannot be changed, but the right understanding begin to be firmer by understanding just one reality, because there cannot be the understanding when there are two or four together, only one. And it's not the reality which is the chief of experiencing what is there from birth. That's, we use the word chitta or vinyana, depending on the meaning and the aspects. So even the moment of begin to attend to the characteristic of just one reality right now, only one, in order to understand the truth. It's not that reality which just arises and experience the object. That's why the chitta, the reality which arises to experience the object, cannot be changed no matter at any time, with understanding, without understanding, with attachment, or with aversion. It's just that which arises and experiences only that which appears as the object. It cannot understand. So there must be other reality. And we learn to understand little by little of different realities performing different functions. That's why now Chitta just experiences the object. It cannot understand the truth. It means that understanding is a reality, which is not that which is achieved. It's not Chitta, but it arises with Chitta. Whatever experiences the object arise together with Chitta at moment of rising and falling away and experience the object. It's not Chitta, but it can experience the same object at the moment when it arises with Chitta, Cetasikas. That's why now we learn to understand not the word Cetasika, but the realities which are Cetasika. So now, attachment is real. What is it? Begin to understand when it's there too, not just the word. Because it's real, but it's not that which experiences the object. But it experiences the same object because they arise together with Chitta, fall away together, experience the same object for sure. There are so many different Cetasikas, right? No one. This is the development of understanding the truth of no one and no thing at all. Only each reality, which is conditioned to arise to be different ones. So now, what is that now? See, no doubt about Chitta and Cetasikas, right? And that which cannot experience anything at all, hardness, sound, is different from the reality which experiences the object. That's why another word for it is Rupa Dhamma. All Dhammas are anatta, and all Dhammas are Nama Dhamma, the reality which experiences the object right now, and the reality which does not experience any object right now, Nama and Rupa. Each moment in this realm of Rupa and Nama. No one there at all. At the moment of asking, thinking, learn to understand little by little Otherwise, it's just the idea about I understand now, or no understanding now. That's why whatever appears in life, it is a reality, and it can be known. Who does not know at moment when one get angry? Everyone knows, but it's I. No understanding of what Buddha had enlightened the truth, Arisatya, the first noble truth. Whatever is there now arises and falls away instantly, so quickly. That's why the succession of the moment of seeing from moment to moment does not appear from years and years ago, because there's no understanding of the truth. Ignorance is there instantly after seeing has fallen away, that process. And before ignorance or attachment, the other citta is in between, unknown. But what Buddha taught out of his enlightenment can be learned, can be understood, can develop not by anyone, but by careful considering any moment of hearing about. Now, no one. Until then, stage by stage. But there has to be clear understanding. Otherwise, attachment lurking there with ignorance all the time. So very subtle. So dhammas are so very subtle. The Four Noble Truths are so very subtle, because it is known. So learn about the truth little by little. Have confidence of Dhamma and understand the deep nature, subtle nature of all Dhammas. Like thinking, see, we ask about thinking, but it's there after seeing. And ignorance is there after seeing. And attachment is there after seeing. That's why ignorance and attachment and all kinds of akusala are accumulated on and on and on and on. Who knows what process is the first process after birth? The process of ignorance and attachment instantly through my door, because at the moment of birth there's no seeing, no eye, no ears yet, but thinking is there, ready to rush out or ooze to the idea or the accumulation of, at that moment, even the object is not seeing or hearing, but a reality is there, experiencing the object. So cling to being, even not known yet what is there, as I or people or someone or an ant or an elephant. The first process of all kinds of birth, no matter in what plane, is the mind process, ready to attach instantly of being when it's processed. Like at moment of just wake up in the morning, see, it depends, who knows, the first moment. All depends on conditions. And this is the way, little by little, to let go the idea of sound, even at moment of hearing. But that's not enough at all, because we just begin to understand what is there now, but they do not appear as they are. Just something all the time, until right understanding begins to understand each moment, closer and closer, little by little. So now, is there any attention to seeing? Because seeing is there right now, or still ignorance and attachment is there, unknown. And this is the understanding, little by little, to understand the virtues of the Buddha. Who's the Buddha? Without any understanding of the truth at all, can anyone understand who's the Buddha? Just the word.
And these words of Achaan's full of meaning and full of understanding of the description of the world given by the Buddha. And can I suggest that when we talk about hearing the Dhamma and considering what has been heard, with wise consideration, of course, hopefully, that it is this kind of level of consideration that is going to be a condition for, at some stage, the arising of understanding. Why do I mention this? Well, because I think we tend to think that the consideration is all connected to having more awareness of an object at the present moment. But it's not that at all, because that's subtle idea of self, thinking that if I have a better understanding of the teaching in terms of what can be the object and what is the characteristic of a moment of awareness and so on, that's going to be the kind of condition for the fourth factor of practice in accordance with the Dhamma. But of course, that's not the case. It is having a broader understanding of the teachings and how they relate to the different parts of the teachings, relate to each other. And most importantly, of course, how they all relate to the present moment. And so during the time Achaan was talking, for each of us, there will have been naturally attending to different aspects of what was being said vis-a-vis the present moment. And that should happen by dint of our own accumulated tendencies, not because of thinking, oh, this is, I need to be thinking, focusing on this, that, or the other. And this kind of general consideration of the teachings can be a condition for, is the necessary condition, I think, for the fourth path factor. So we don't have to be so particular in our considerations, perhaps we think we should be, or we have been in the past. However, there are times when we would like to know a specific piece of information, such as what Yi is asking now, such as Gern was asking last night about exactly what is the object when Citta experiences, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we have these kind of questions in our mind, we should not allow them to be a distraction from the more general consideration of the teachings, which is the most important thing. But just to answer one aspect of your question, then, when visible object is experienced through the sense door, and after that through the mind door, we include the limiter, of course, but I won't mention the limiter because I just mentioned visible object. It makes no difference, right? When it's experienced through the mind door by different mind door processes, only for the first one or few of those is the visible object itself, the object of the mind door citta. After that, it's the memory of the mind door citta, which is a concept that becomes the object of the subsequent mind door processes. So in that sense, it's not any different from any other moment of thinking. It's different in this respect that it's, shall we say, part of the way things happen and have to happen in accordance with the way things do happen in life. So everyone has that experience. The Putujina, the worldling who knows nothing, and the fully enlightened being, for all of them, the sense door experiencing is followed by multiple moments of mind door experiencing of the same object or the concept of that object. And in that sense, we can perhaps distinguish it from kind of discursive thinking that we normally refer to, like thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or what I'm going to have for lunch. But the reality is the same, just chitta experiencing a concept with kusala or akusala chitta. Can't be anything else, just kusala or akusala chitta.
And I was going to add, we can jump to different questions like details about different concepts of realities and concepts and so on. But actually we're all experts in concepts, but what there's no understanding about is the reality now. So it's just a distraction, thinking and talking about different concepts and comparing them. So what is being discussed is just for the purpose of understanding the truth now, thinking now, no matter what it thinks about, instead of finding the idea, the object, the story so important. What about understanding the thinking now, seeing now, what is seen now, the realities that make up life now? That's why the listening, considering, and understanding the truth now, reality now as anatta is more precious than working out all the stories about different details with the idea of I that would like to know and pinpoint and check it all out. Thanks, Lee. Maybe we can move on to next question.
Morning. We mentioned many things about the idea of self. I would like to understand more about that. It is the kind of the concept of the thinking, or it is because the ignorance not understand what is real, just something wrong, just the idea of what is that.
It's neither attachment to something that is being experienced, nor is it ignorance of something that is being experienced. It's a different reality, which is called wrong view. If we are thinking of a self, we have to distinguish this from thinking of oneself. I can think of me with attachment, or with mana, or with wrong view. But generally, when we're talking about developing the path, and we're thinking in terms of doing something, or having more understanding, and this kind of thing, that is likely to involve the wrong view of self.
It's the detail, you mean the detail, right? Detail. Yeah, just detail and the object, is it the idea of self, the object of the detail mainly, or detail itself?
Well, ditthi itself is wrong view. And it has to be wrong view about the way things are. Wrong view about a conventional matter is not wrong view. If we think the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, that's not wrong view, because it's nothing about the way things are in reality at the present moment. So the characteristic of wrong view, as I see it, is that it's a belief about the way things are in truth, which is a wrong belief.
So it opposite with understanding?
Yes, because understanding does understand the way things are in reality, again, not conventionally, and is correct about that. Okay. And if there's thinking, just finish off, about things, even about some of the things we're talking about, but it's not, one is not thinking with the idea that one knows how things are, then it may not be wrong view. It's just aggressive thinking. It's not right view, it's not wrong view, it's just thinking, and maybe during the day, many moments of that kind of thinking.
Earlier, there was thinking about what is seen before there's any word. In the same way, there's thinking about something there after seeing the idea of something there long before there's the thinking in words about the idea of Li or Ge or Zhao sitting in front of me. So there's something after seeing so quickly, something there, after hearing something there. So before there any words, something ditthi arising with the citta rooted in lobha and ignorance. And ditthi is there because it's the impression of something that's seen, something that's heard. And then afterwards thinking about the stories about this is Li, this is Gen. But the object of the thinking with ditthi is something, someone, not necessary to be in words at all.
And
even though something,
yes,
something
right.
seen,
Right.
something here, something before there's an idea of an orange dress, something.
It is something appear now, or flower appear already, not something at all.
Before there's an idea of flowers, still there's an idea of what is seen as something, the different colors, the shapes. Before it's an idea of flowers, but still ditthi arises when it's something there instantly.
Jonathan just mentioned some time before that right after the seeing, thinking, I mean the way how the concept being called, that might have, I mean
Thinking
the
about
nimitta, right? The nimitta bit, then concept.
Well, it's the thinking about the sense or object, or its nimitta. We don't have to say that every time.
Okay.
We know that when we
Okay.
talk about sense or object, we mean nimitta. So let's just say it's the thinking, the experiencing of the sense or object by the sense or consciousness, no nimitta involved there. And then that is experienced through the mind door. The same object is experienced through the mind door. And the first few moments of mind door, still real, still the object. Okay. After that, the memory or concept of the object, and thinking about the shape and form of the object, together with the shape and form of the objects experienced before and after that one, and through other doorways, because then they all mixed in to create image of the world as we know it.
Right. So Sarah just mentioned about just few moments later is already DT there, right? And I think that's the same as you mentioned, right? Sometimes right after the seeing, some minor process still think about the real object, and that's such moment of the thing.
The idle process, and you've heard about the asavas, the very subtle kinds of attachment and ignorance. So even the subtle ditthi can arise even in the idle process. Visible object still the object. And in the first mind or process that follows visible object, nimitta visible object is the object, ditthi can arise even at those times. So quickly, just slightest idea of something heard, something seen, and then countless mind or processes, more and more ideas about the colors, the shapes, the kind of flowers, the leaves, the patterns on the table, and so on.
Yes, this is the way it is. But if we're talking about ditthi appearing and being capable of being understood in daily life, then of course the ditthi of that level is not apparent. And the other thing to add is that for the enlightened being, even the Sotapanna, ditthi eradicated, there is still the same processes. So it's not the processes and the ideas that are formed of people and things, but it's the underlying understanding that changes as understanding is developed. So it doesn't develop as necessarily as a clearer understanding of individual reality, but there's less misunderstanding of how real it is.
Just mention these details just to indicate how prevalent the idea of self is, even now while it's listening to Dharma. So it's a long path, and no use in thinking because we're discussing Dharma, it's just wise consideration all the time, because at moments of seeing, at moments when ditthi is arising, moments of ignorance, no wise considering. So the wise considering is just for a moment, just like the attachment is just for a moment, the ditthi is just for a moment, thinking is just for a moment. Whatever arises falls away instantly. Different dharmas arising by conditions. No one chooses to have ditthi arising but by conditions because of the accumulated tendency.
So very deep. And this morning I walked with Vision, talking about we don't even think that this thing and it's already there. At the moment walking is everything already available there, even we don't intend to think about that, it already think. Yeah.
It's the nature of life in samsara, as described by the Buddha in one of the suttas. The consciousness jumps from one doorway, sense door, to the other, and the mind door continuously. So always apparently random thinking about this doorway, that doorway, and stitching them all together. And it's the same for the enlightened being, because that's the nature of the mind in samsara. It's not due to ignorance that we are thinking this and that randomly, apparently randomly. it's just the way it is in life.
Oh, okay. For that point, I'm thinking that it's always ignorant there. Mm, but actually ignorant there. Mm.
As we know, no ignorance at the moment of sense or experience.
Sure. Yeah.
And then with the thinking, if it's kusala thinking, no ignorance. But if it's akusala thinking, as it mostly is, then ignorance too.
Right. But for the enlightened, even thinking about things, but don't have to be with the detail or ignorant there. Just okay.
Well, there's the DT that gets eradicated first. That after that, there's still ignorance.
Ignorance in sense store processes. I mean, not at moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, but as soon as the akusala citas arise, ignorance is there. Zhao, would you like to ask Achaan or discuss more of Achaan about calm? Because at the end of the evening session yesterday, I said, what about when your friends tell you about their meditation practices? And you rightly said anyone can think anything. And then you made some comment about calm. And you also mentioned this morning when we were having a chat about how it's your habit to close your eyes and focus on the breath. And we have many ideas about calm. I think it's a good topic for everyone to discuss further and to hear Achaan's comments about as well.
And before that, I just want you explain very short about the word you use to translate the Pali term dukkha to manufacturing better than suffering. You already said to me, so you explain a bit about this.
There are three kinds of dukkha. The first kind, everyone is familiar with, even those who've never heard the Buddha's teachings. They know that when having a painful bodily feeling, when they're sick, they know that it's dukkha. They know it's not good. It's not pleasant. They know that when they have a strong anger, there's a lot of unpleasant feeling. So these are kinds of dukkha that everyone is familiar with and everyone would like to avoid. The second kind of dukkha, viparinama dukkha, refers to pleasant feeling. It's a bit more subtle. We think when there's pleasant feeling, it's not dukkha, it's not bad, because it's enjoyable and we like it and we would like more of it. But actually the pleasant feeling, it doesn't last at all and it's gone instantly. And then there's sadness and grief because of clinging to the pleasant feeling that is so impermanent. So even the pleasant feeling is dukkha. It's not suffering, it's unsatisfactory. And the third kind of dukkha, the deepest meaning, is the meaning that is referred to in the First Noble Truth when it says all khandhas, all realities are dukkha. Any kind of rupa, the hardness, the softness, the heat, the cold, any kind of nama, seeing, hearing, pleasant feeling, memory, kindness, understanding, whatever reality arises, falls away, like we kept being reminded, sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, sabbe dhamma anatta. All conditioned realities are impermanent. And because they are impermanent, they are dukkha. Usually we don't think of understanding or metta as being suffering. So this is why suffering is not a good translation. But they are unsatisfactory because they cannot be a refuge. They cannot be made to last. They fall away instantly. But they're the object of clinging again and again. Even metta is dukkha because it's good quality, there's kindness, there's help, but it's gone. And then there's clinging, wishing to have more metta, wishing to be a kind person, wishing to experience it again and again. So in the deepest sense, whatever is conditioned is dukkha. This is sankhara dukkha because it's gone instantly. So when you wrote or said about understanding suffering, I mentioned perhaps it's more appropriate to talk about unsatisfactoriness, that which cannot be a refuge, that cannot bring lasting joy at all. Even the joy is dukkha. Nothing worth clinging to.
I would like to thank you, Achaan, about everything you did for us. And especially you remind us begin again and again. So as Kunsara helped me to bring up my idea to you, so I would like to hear from you about kind.
Is there now a little more understanding of what is meant by calm?
Yes.
Okay, is it calm?
Yes.
That moment of understanding.
Yes.
See, there is now understanding of calm at moment of understanding. But just right?
Yes.
Thinking about there is calm at moment of understanding. But what is there appear to be known? As understanding or attention or what? To understand that actually no one thing. This is the point, this is the heart, this is the core of the truth. No one there at all. So we have heard about that. Is there any attention at moment of hearing the word about calm?
Yes.
What is that?
I'm not sure the why
As
attention
much,
or from attention.
as much as you can understand. Is attention right understanding?
Not sure.
Is attention the calm?
No.
That's why we learn to understand that all of them are not self or anything or anyone at all. Each has its own characteristic. And at the moment when one says, I understand or attend to the word, to the meaning, to the truth of the word about, is it a reality? Attention.
Yes, today.
Is it done? Or
No.
it has to thought about carefully again.
Yeah.
That's why in order to let go the idea of self, which is so very deeply rooted of whatever is there, when it's not known as it is, it's there all the time. Latent tendency, and then very slight arising, no one knows until it's known. That's why attention is not just a word, but it's a reality. Can attention understand?
No, I think different cetasika.
Okay,
With
so
this-
now we begin to be acquainted to the meaning of the word cetasika. So we have the name for each cetasika to differentiate the characteristic and the truth of it. So in Pali, you heard this term, this word a lot about attention. What is it in Pali?
Intention in Pali, manasika, and
See.
with right intention with suriso manasika.
That's why sometimes in Thailand, when we talk about attention, it's quite difficult to get the meaning of it. But when we use the word manasikara, it seems like they understand instantly, right or wrong. Familiar with the term nasikara, but not the truth of it. That's why we have to understand. We just heard about that moment of understanding. Is there manasikara too?
Yes.
Wisely or
Because
unwisely? Wisely. So even right now, is there manasikara?
yes,
What moment?
every moment.
Every moment. See, begin to understand a little more in a moment. There must be citta, the chief of experiencing. Now the object appears fairly to it. And the cetasikas as conditions for citta to arise. That's why they arise together. And a reality which arises with each moment of citta is that which attend to the object, no matter what. At moment of seeing, citta experiences it with 7 cetasikas. One is attend to the object which is seen, while citta just is a chief of experience, is the characteristic of that. But the reality, a cetasika, attend to it any moment, anytime, wisely or unwisely. So at moment of seeing, there is a reality, attend to the object of seeing, wisely or unwisely. This is the way to begin to think carefully about any reality which is so very deep, to have a little more understanding. At that moment of a little more understanding, it's let go ignorance and the clinging to self, because there is more, a little more understanding of that. So it cannot be anyone at all. So at that moment of seeing right now, there is manasikara, we can use the Pali term now, attention to the object. The question is whether wisely or unwisely.
Moment of seeing the manasikara, not wisely or unwisely.
Good. See, but the one who just heard have doubt or no doubt, because usually wisely or unwisely, but now he said not wisely, no, wisely, and it's true. Why is not wisely and not unwisely? Again and again, to develop careful considering, not just take it by word. The Buddha taught about everything from the very beginning to the end, the ultimate truth of each different moment. And if there is just very little understanding of the meaning of the word, how can there be the understanding of this moment? As what is there really is, whether it is citta or the cetasika at a time. So why it does not attend wisely or unwisely?
Because because ignorance and attachment and the understanding is not enough
Does
to understand.
ignorance arise with seeing consciousness?
No,
So is manasikara, attention, arises with seeing consciousness?
yes,
So why it cannot be wisely or unwisely at moment of seeing?
because the moment of seeing just seeing
Why?
its function. Its function. It
What
arises.
about seeing? What about manasikara arising with seeing, and manasikara arises with thinking?
Different.
So which one is wisely or unwisely?
With thinking.
Wisely or unwisely?
Manasikara arise with thinking.
Wisely or unwisely?
That depends. That depends the thinking about what. If with thinking with wholesome, with the wholesome chitta, it's wisely, but it arise with unwholesome chitta, it's unwisely.
So can seeing be wholesome or unwholesome?
No,
Why not?
because of each function just experience each object.
Each chitta experiences the object, and each manasikara attend to the object, no matter. That's why it's not just enough to let go, try to understand this or that, but even right now, there can be a little more understanding of the truth.
Is seeing. You said it's not kusala chitta. It's not akusala chitta. What kind of chitta is seeing?
Seeing a vipaka chitta.
Thanks, Mai. You have a good friend.
Remind me.
It's a vipaka chitta. Or not good friend. Ajahn says not such a good friend.
So it's,
It's
as
a-
Achaan said,
it's a-
every chitta just experiences the object, which is the answer you were giving. Its function is to experience. That's the same for every chitta. But the answer is the one that Sarah
Achaan.
When it's vipaka chitta, but it's the result of kusala chitta or kusala karma. Why can't wise attention arise with it? Because it's vipaka chitta, but it's a result of kusala karma. So why cannot wise attention arise with it?
Okay.
The seeing consciousness, it's vipaka chitta.
Yeah.
It's a result of kusala karma in the past. Why cannot wise attention arise with it?
Because it's a vipaka chitta.
Vipaka chitta.
Yeah.
Can kusala manasikara arise with any vipaka chittas?
I'm not sure. But I understand the wise manisakara just arise with wholesome chitta and unwholesome.
And another point is that the seeing consciousness, are there any, even when it's a result of kusala karma, are there any wholesome roots at that moment of seeing? Because, for example, Bhavanga chittas are vipaka chittas, but when they're the result of kusala karma, the Bhavanga chittas are accompanied by wholesome roots. So wholesome factors arise with those vipaka chittas. So it's not quite enough to say just because it's vipaka. It's because they are vipaka chittas and they are ahetuka, rootless chittas too, no wholesome roots. So no wholesome manasikara, no sati, no alobha, no adosa, because they are rootless at that moment. A little deeper to consider.
Mhm.
If there is not clear understanding of what is the noun, can there be clear understanding of what we will talk about, which is not known? But when there's right understanding, a little more clear and clear, there can be clear understanding of whatever in the future. That's why even if they're now seeing, the understanding of it is not enough, because we can talk about what is said again and again a little more. For example, again, there is manasikara arising with seeing. It's not wise or unwise, right?
It's not why I'm unwise.
Why?
Also, the seeing is the vipakachita.
It's easy. So easy because it's vipaka. So it means that not just citta is conditioned by karma or jetasikas arising with that citta, which is vipaka, is conditioned by karma as well. The same karma to condition it to arise with citta, which experience the object. So all jetasikas are conditioned by karma just to perform its function as vipaka, as the result of what is the cause in the past. Little by little, it's not clear in the beginning, but you begin to understand the difference of each moment. And what follows? The process of seeing.
The Savana. Savana.
The process, after the process.
At the process.
Entire process through the eye door has fallen away. What follows?
I'm not sure I remember the English words. So difficult for me to answer. Maybe you have.
So in the eye door process, there isn't just seeing, but there are all the other viti process chitas, the one before seeing, two more vipaka chitas after seeing, one kiriya chitta, the kusala or akusala chitas you mentioned. And after all those chitas have fallen away, no more idle process, what follows?
Maybe some kind of bhavana chitta. And after that, other person.
The question is, after the sense door experience process is completely finished, what happens next? What happens about what citta then experiences the object?
You're right, after the idle process, bhavanga chitas, and then after those bhavanga chitas, what next?
That I don't think English enough to explain my opinion, but I
No, you know the
about
answer because we've been talking about it this morning.
Yeah.
You know.
So for recognize something or someone, there are many process that so when should not process.
Sense door process, can it be followed by another sense door process?
Yeah.
Another idle process after the idle process?
Yeah.
No, must be followed by mind door process.
So the mind door process continue with the object of sense door process. Yeah. And the
Mind door process. Yes.
Is it known?
Yes.
Is it known?
Share a little bit as understand after you show me. So it's not known, but understand a little bit about it.
That's why we have to learn. So very careful of each word.
I think there's a lot more in this question and topic to continue this afternoon, and we haven't even got to the calm. So step by step, yes, to understand what arises when and with what chitta, to really understand what the reality is. So I think we're continuing this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Achaan. Thank you, the teacher. Thank you, everybody.
Achaan and John and Sarah, is it possible we start this afternoon at 2:30 instead of 3? Yes, 2:30 p.m. Then we can finish at 4, and then friends can enjoy.
Okay, everyone, 2:30. See you all 2:30 to 4 this afternoon.
Yes. And for lunch, is it a buffet as well? So Tiny Tom will give the tickets to everyone, and then you can have any time from now to 1 p.m. Same place at breakfast. Is it clear for everyone?